The moment Lena Ward's stepsister announced her engagement to Adrian Viscari, Manhattan's most dangerous man, Lena knew her invisible life was about to shatter. She was right. Within hours, Adrian would corner her in a darkened hallway, his cold eyes stripping away every lie she'd been fed. He'd offer her a choice that wasn't really a choice at all: prison for crimes she didn't commit, or marriage to him instead of her stepsister. The clock was ticking. By dawn, her entire world would burn. But Lena had no idea that saying yes to the devil would be the first time she'd ever truly lived. If you're hooked, stay with me until the very end, and don't forget to hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Lena's story travels. The champagne flutes gleamed under the crystal chandeliers like tiny weapons, each one perfectly aligned on Lena's serving tray. She moved through the crowd with practiced invisibility, her black uniform blending into the shadows of the Fifth Avenue penthouse. Around her, Manhattan's elite laughed too loudly, their jewelry catching the light in sharp, expensive bursts. Lena had perfected the art of being unseen. Head down, eyes lowered, smile when spoken to, but never speak first. 12 years under her stepmother's roof had taught her that survival meant silence. More champagne, a woman in a blood-red dress snapped, not bothering to look at Lena's face. Of course, Lena's voice came out soft, apologetic. She'd learned that tone early. The penthouse belonged to the Hartwell family, old money, old cruelty. Tonight's engagement party celebrated her stepsister Claire's upcoming marriage to some business magnate Lena had never heard of. Claire stood at the room's center in a white dress that probably cost more than Lena earned in a year, accepting congratulations like a queen receiving tribute. Their stepmother, Margaret, hovered nearby, her smile sharp as cut glass. She'd married Lena's father when Lena was 10, then spent the next decade systematically destroying any memory of warmth in their home. After he died, his heart giving out when Lena was 15, Margaret had made it clear that Lena's place in the household was earned through service and silence. "Lena," Margaret's voice cut through the party noise. "The guests in the study need refreshments. Don't embarrass us." Don't embarrass us. The family motto, at least where Lena was concerned. Lena balanced the tray carefully, weaving through the crowd toward the study. The hallway was quieter, the music fading to a distant pulse. She knocked twice, then pushed the door open. 3 men stood by the window, their conversation stopping the moment she entered. 2 of them were typical wealthy guests, expensive suits, soft hands, the kind of men who'd never worked for anything in their lives. The third man was different. He stood with his back to the city lights, and even in silhouette, Lena could feel the weight of him. Not his size, though he was tall, broad-shouldered in a way that suggested real strength, not gym vanity, but something else. Something that made the air in the room feel thinner. "Champagne," Lena's voice came out smaller than she'd intended. "Leave the tray." One of the soft-handed men waved dismissively. Lena set the tray down on the desk, careful not to let the glasses clink. She was turning to leave when a voice stopped her. "Wait." The word wasn't loud, but it carried authority that made Lena's spine straighten involuntarily. She turned back slowly. The third man had moved into the light. Lena's first thought was that he looked dangerous. Not in the obvious way, no visible scars, no aggressive posture. But there was something in his eyes, dark and assessing, that suggested he'd seen things that would break softer men. His suit was perfectly tailored, his dark hair pushed back from a face that was handsome in a harsh, uncompromising way. He was looking at her. Really looking, not through her the way most people did. "What's your name?" he asked. The other men shifted uncomfortably. One cleared his throat. "Adrian, we should—" I asked her a question. Adrian's eyes never left Lena's face. So this was Adrian Viscari, Claire's fiancé. Lena had heard the name whispered among the catering staff, warnings to be careful, to not draw his attention. Rumors of what he really did for a living, the kind of business that didn't appear in Forbes, but everyone knew about anyway. "Lena." Her throat felt dry. "Lena Ward." Something flickered in his expression. Recognition? Impossible. They'd never met. "Ward," he repeated, as if testing the name. His gaze moved over her face with an intensity that made Lena want to step back. "Your family to the bride?" "Stepsister." The word tasted bitter. "Interesting." Adrian's mouth curved, but it wasn't quite a smile. You can go. Lena fled. Her hands shook as she made her way back through the party. That look. She couldn't shake the feeling that he'd seen something in her, something she'd spent years trying to hide. The girl who was angry, the girl who hated the golden cage she'd been shoved into, the girl who dreamed sometimes of burning the whole thing down. There you are! Claire materialized from the crowd, her perfect face tight with irritation. Mother's been looking everywhere for you. I was in the study. Well, she needs you in the kitchen. The caterers are asking questions about the dessert service, and apparently you're the only one who can handle it. Claire's tone suggested that this was both beneath her and somehow still Lena's fault. Lena nodded and headed for the kitchen, grateful for the escape. The industrial-sized room was chaos. Chefs shouting orders, servers rushing past with trays. Lena found the manager and sorted out the dessert confusion, a problem that took all of 3 minutes to solve. She was heading back out when she heard her stepmother's voice from the adjacent pantry. Substantial debt, Edward. More than we discussed. Lena froze. Margaret never discussed money where anyone could overhear. She pressed herself against the wall, barely breathing. The arrangements are in place. An unfamiliar male voice, smooth and oily. By tomorrow morning, the forensic accountants will have all the documentation they need. The fraud is elaborate enough that by the time anyone realizes the truth, the ward girl will be in custody. Lena's blood went cold. And you're certain it can't be traced back to Claire? Margaret's voice was sharp. Mrs. Hartwell, I've been doing this for 20 years. The paper trail leads directly to Lena's accounts she doesn't even know exist. The embezzlement, the money laundering, all of it. She'll take the fall, your family stays clean, and we split the insurance payout 60-40. The world tilted. Lena's hand found the wall, fingers pressing into the plaster hard enough to hurt. What about Adrian? Margaret asked. Claire says he's been asking questions about family finances. Viscari's smart, I'll give him that. But even he won't be able to untangle this mess before the arrests happen. By the time he figures it out, if he figures it out, it won't matter. The case will be airtight. And the girl? A pause. 10 to 15 years, most likely. Federal fraud charges don't tend to get dismissed. Lena heard herself make a sound, small, choked. She clapped a hand over her mouth, but it was too late. The pantry door flew open. Margaret stood there, her face a mask of cold fury. Behind her, a thin man in an expensive suit looked mildly annoyed. Lena, Margaret's voice was ice. How long have you been standing there? Lena's mind raced. Deny everything? Run? What could she possibly... Long enough. The words came out steadier than she felt. You're framing me. Framing is such an ugly word. The thin man stepped forward. Let's call it creative accounting. I'll tell someone. Lena's voice shook now. I'll tell everyone what you're doing. Margaret laughed, a cold, brittle sound. Tell them what exactly? That your stepmother and her financial advisor discussed business matters? That you, a barely educated catering server, overheard a conversation you couldn't possibly understand? Who exactly do you think will believe you? The truth of it hit Lena like a fist. Who would believe her? She had no proof, no evidence, just her word against Manhattan society royalty. The accounts will be frozen by morning, the thin man said, checking his watch. Federal agents will be at your door by 8 a.m. I'd suggest you enjoy your last few hours of freedom. Margaret gripped Lena's arm, her nails digging in through the fabric. You've been a burden since the day your father married me. Always watching, always in the way. This is me finally being free of you. She released Lena with a small shove. Now get back to work. We still have guests. Lena stumbled backward. The kitchen noise felt distant, muffled. 10 to 15 years. Federal prison. For crimes she didn't commit, with evidence she couldn't fight. She had to run. Tonight. Now. Lena pushed through the kitchen doors, her mind already calculating. She had maybe $300 saved, hidden in her room. No car. Margaret had never allowed her to get a license. She could take the train, get out of the city, disappear somewhere. Lena Ward. She spun around. Adrian Viscari stood in the hallway, blocking her path. His hands were in his pockets, his expression unreadable. I need to go, Lena said, trying to step around him. He moved to block her. We need to talk. I can't. I don't have time. Make time. It wasn't a request. Lena's frustration boiled over. Look, I don't care who you are or who you're marrying. I have to leave. Now. So if you could just... You heard them, didn't you? Adrian's voice was quiet. In the pantry. The conversation about the fraud charges. Lena's breath caught. You were listening. I've been investigating Margaret Hartwell's finances for 3 months. Adrian pulled out his phone, showing her a screen filled with financial documents. She's been embezzling from her late husband's trust fund, your father's trust, the one that was supposed to support you until you turned 25. Lena stared at the numbers, the accounts, the systematic theft spanning years. Why would you? Because I'm about to marry into this family, and I don't like surprises. Adrian pocketed the phone. But I'll admit, the framing angle is new. That conversation was very informative. Then you have to help me. The words came out desperate. Tell someone what you heard. You have connections. People will believe you. They won't. Adrian's tone was matter-of-fact. No judge will allow hearsay evidence from a conversation I accidentally overheard. And by the time anyone investigates your stepmother, you'll already be arrested. The fraud scheme is sophisticated. Someone's been building this for months, maybe longer. Your name is all over it. Lena's legs felt weak. So I'm just done? That's it? Not necessarily. Adrian studied her with that same intense focus from earlier. You have a choice. What choice? Running won't work. They'll find me. Staying means prison. There's no choice. There's always a choice. It just might not be the one you want. Adrian stepped closer. I can make this go away. All of it. The fraud charges, the false evidence, everything. Margaret and her accountant will face consequences instead of you. Hope flared, painful and desperate. How? I have resources. Lawyers who specialize in making problems disappear. Investigators who can expose the real criminals. But nothing's free, Lena. The hope died. What do you want? Adrian's dark eyes held hers. A different bride. The hallway seemed to tilt. What? The engagement to Claire was never my choice. It was a business arrangement between families. Her mother wanted access to my connections. I wanted access to her political contacts. But Claire is... He paused, choosing his words. Shallow. Manipulative. Exactly like her mother. I have no interest in spending my life with her. So don't marry her. Lena's voice came out strangled. Call it off. Breaking the engagement now would create complications I don't need. Wars start over insulted families. Adrian's expression was unreadable. But if Claire's stepsister, the daughter of the original marriage, were to become my wife instead, that changes the dynamic. Same family connection, different bride, faces saved all around. Lena couldn't breathe. You're insane. I'm practical. You need protection from a criminal case that will destroy your life. I need a wife who isn't a carbon copy of Margaret Hartwell. He tilted his head slightly. And I saw the way you looked tonight. The anger in your eyes when no one else was watching. You hate this life as much as I'd hate being married to Claire. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. You're invisible in your own family. They treat you like hired help instead of blood. Your stepmother's literally trying to have you imprisoned to steal what's left of your father's money. Adrian's voice was cold, factual. I know what it's like to be underestimated, to have people look right through you because you don't matter to them. Something in his tone made Lena look up sharply. For just a moment, she saw past the dangerous exterior to something harder, old pain buried deep. Why me? She whispered. If you just need a different bride, you could find someone. Anyone. Because you're already in the family structure. Because replacing Claire with you causes fewer political complications. Adrian's gaze was steady. And because I think you're stronger than anyone's given you credit for, including yourself. Lena wanted to laugh, to scream, to do anything but stand there considering the most insane proposal she'd ever heard. Prison or marriage, she said flatly. That's my choice? Those are the options. Choose. That's not a choice. That's blackmail. It's a transaction. Adrian checked his watch. You have 30 seconds. After that, I walk away and you're on your own with the federal charges. 29, 28. Stop it. Lena's hands clenched into fists. This is my life. You're 20 seconds. 19. You can't just 14, 13. Lena's mind raced through her options. Running meant spending years looking over her shoulder, waiting for the arrest. Prison meant she couldn't even think about prison. But marriage to this man, this dangerous, calculating stranger. 5 seconds, Lena. 4. She thought about her father, the way he used to call her his bright girl. How disappointed he'd be to see her now, cornered and desperate. 2. But her father was dead, and the only person who could save her was standing right here, counting down her last moments of freedom. 1. Yes, the word ripped out of her. Yes, fine, I'll do it. Adrian nodded once, as if she'd just agreed to dinner plans instead of marriage. Smart choice. When? Lena's voice was hollow. Now. What? Adrian pulled out his phone again, typing rapidly. I have a judge who owes me a favor. We'll have the paperwork done within the hour. The marriage license, the ceremony, all of it. Tonight? But Claire, the engagement party, is about to have a very dramatic ending. Adrian's smile was sharp. Come on, we should make our announcement before your stepmother realizes you're missing. He started walking back toward the party. After a frozen moment, Lena followed. The crowd was denser now, drunk on champagne and gossip. Claire stood near the fireplace, showing off her engagement ring to a cluster of admiring women. Margaret held court nearby, her smile satisfied and cruel. Adrian walked directly to the center of the room. The crowd parted instinctively, conversations dying as people recognized him. He picked up a champagne flute and tapped it with a knife until the entire room fell silent. Thank you all for coming tonight, he said, his voice carrying easily. I appreciate you celebrating this family occasion. However, there's been a change of plans. Claire's smile faltered. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Adrian reached back and pulled Lena forward. His hand was warm, steady. Lena felt every eye in the room land on her. The engagement is off, Adrian announced. Claire and I have mutually decided we're not suited for each other. The room exploded into whispers. Claire's face went scarlet. However, Adrian continued, his voice cutting through the noise, I will still be joining the family, just with a different bride. He turned to Lena, his expression unreadable. Lena and I will be married tonight. I hope you'll all wish us well. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Margaret's voice sharp as breaking glass. You can't be serious. Completely serious. Adrian's hand tightened on Lena's. The Hartwell family connection remains, just with the original bloodline instead of the second marriage. This is ridiculous. Claire pushed through the crowd, her perfect face twisted with rage. Lena? You're choosing Lena over me? Yes. Adrian's tone suggested the topic was closed. She's nobody. She's the help. Claire's voice rose to a shriek. She serves drinks for a living, and yet she's about to become my wife. Adrian looked at Margaret. I assume the family has no objections? Lena saw the calculation in her stepmother's eyes, the way she weighed her options, considered her angles. Finally, Margaret forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Of course not. Lena is family after all. The words sounded like they were coated in poison. How unexpected. Life is full of surprises. Adrian's smile matched Margaret's for coldness. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a wedding to attend. He guided Lena toward the door. The crowd parted again, everyone staring. Lena felt Claire's hateful glare boring into her back, heard Margaret's furious whisper to someone nearby, but she kept walking. Adrian's car was waiting outside, a sleek black sedan with tinted windows. A driver opened the back door silently. Adrian gestured for Lena to get in. She hesitated on the sidewalk, the Manhattan night air sharp and cold. Last chance to change your mind, Adrian said quietly. After this, there's no going back. Lena looked up at the penthouse windows, blazing with light. Inside, her stepmother was probably already plotting revenge. Claire was screaming at anyone who would listen. The accountant was likely panicking about his exposed fraud scheme. And somewhere in that building was the old Lena, the invisible girl who took abuse silently, who shrank herself down to nothing, who believed she deserved the scraps they threw her. That girl was dead now. She'd died the moment Lena had heard her stepmother casually discuss sending her to prison. I'm sure, Lena said, and got into the car. Adrian slid in beside her. The door closed with a heavy final sound. The driver pulled into traffic smoothly. "Where are we going?" Lena asked. "Judge's chambers, then my apartment." "Your apartment?" Lena's voice sounded distant to her own ears. "I don't have anything. Clothes, documents, nothing. I'll have someone collect your things tomorrow. For tonight, you won't need much." The implications of that statement hit Lena belatedly. Tonight. Their wedding night. She was about to marry a complete stranger, a man rumored to be dangerous, a man who'd just strong-armed her into this decision. "I don't even know you," she said quietly. Adrian looked at her, his expression shadowed in the car's dim interior. "No, you don't. But you will. And I think you'll find that I'm a better option than prison." "That's a low bar." "Fair enough." He turned back to the window. "But I'll give you something your stepmother never did." "What's that?" "Honesty." Adrian's voice was matter-of-fact. "This marriage is a transaction. I need a wife who isn't Claire. You need protection from criminal charges. But I don't lie to people, Lena. And I don't break my word. If I promise you something, it happens. If I make a threat, I follow through. You'll never have to wonder where you stand with me." How reassuring, Lena heard the bitterness in her own voice. "It should be. In my world, knowing the truth keeps you alive." "Your world?" Lena looked at him directly. "What exactly is your world, Adrian? Because the rumors say—" "The rumors are probably true." He met her eyes. "I run an organization that operates outside the law. We control territories. We handle problems that legitimate businesses can't touch. We move money and power in ways that would make your stepmother's fraud look like petty theft. I'm not a good man, Lena. I've done things that would horrify you, but I'm fair and I'm loyal to the people under my protection. And I'm under your protection now. You are. Which means no one touches you. Not Margaret, not the federal prosecutors, not anyone. You're mine now, and I protect what's mine." The possessiveness in his tone should have terrified her. Instead, Lena felt something strange, a loosening in her chest, like she'd been holding her breath for years and could finally exhale. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Really? Not just a different bride. What do you actually want?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. "I want someone I can trust, someone who isn't playing games or plotting behind my back, someone who understands that loyalty is earned, not bought." He glanced at her. "And I think you want out, not just from Margaret and Claire, but from being invisible, from being nobody." "You don't know what I want, don't I?" Adrian's smile was sharp. "I saw your face tonight before you knew I was watching. You looked at your stepsister like you wanted to burn her pretty dress right off her back. You looked at that party like it was a cage you'd give anything to escape. Tell me I'm wrong." Lena couldn't, because he wasn't. The car stopped outside an old courthouse building. Adrian got out first, then offered his hand to help Lena out. His grip was firm, warm, real. "Ready?" he asked. Lena looked up at the building, then back at the man who was about to become her husband. A stranger, a criminal. A man who'd just given her the only choice she had left. "No," she said honestly, "but let's do it anyway." Adrian's smile was genuine this time, brief but real. "Good answer." They walked inside together, and Lena Ward's invisible life ended forever. The judge's chambers smelled like old leather and older secrets. The ceremony was brief, clinical. Lena signed her name next to Adrian's, her hand steady despite everything. There were no flowers, no music, no guests, just two strangers promising things neither of them quite believed. "You may kiss the bride," the judge said, almost apologetically. Adrian turned to Lena. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then he leaned in and kissed her, gentle, brief, nothing like what she'd expected from a man with his reputation. When he pulled back, his expression was unreadable. "Let's go home, wife," he said quietly. And just like that, Lena became someone new, someone visible, someone dangerous, someone free. Adrian's apartment occupied the top 3 floors of a building in Tribeca that probably cost more than Lena could comprehend. The elevator required a key card and fingerprint scan. When the doors opened directly into his living space, Lena stepped into a world that felt like another planet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, Manhattan spreading out below them like a carpet of lights. The space was massive but surprisingly sparse. Expensive furniture arranged with precision, art on the walls that looked museum quality. Everything clean and controlled. It felt less like a home and more like a very beautiful holding cell. "Your room is upstairs," Adrian said, loosening his tie. "Second door on the left. There should be basic clothes in the closet. I had my assistant stock it earlier." Lena turned to stare at him. "You had clothes ready? Before you even asked me?" "I don't ask questions I don't already know the answer to." Adrian poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "You were always going to say yes. The alternative was too terrible. You're extremely confident. I'm extremely prepared. There's a difference." He took a sip, watching her over the rim of the glass. "You should get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be complicated." "Complicated how?" "Margaret will start making moves. Probably legal ones, definitely underhanded ones. She won't take this lying down." Adrian set the glass down. "But that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight, you need sleep. You look exhausted." Lena realized she was exhausted, bone deep, soul tired, the kind of tired that came from having your entire life explode in the span of a few hours. "What about you?" she asked. "I have work to do." Adrian was already pulling out his phone. "I'll be in my office. If you need anything, there's an intercom panel in your room." "Office. Right." Lena headed for the stairs, then paused. "Adrian?" He looked up. "Why did you really choose me? The real reason, not the political convenience excuse." Adrian studied her for a long moment. "Because when I looked at you tonight, I saw someone who was still fighting. Most people in your position would have broken years ago. But you were still there, still angry, still alive under all that forced invisibility. I respect that." It was the most honest thing anyone had said to her in years. "Good night, husband," Lena said, the word foreign on her tongue. "Good night, wife." The bedroom was enormous, decorated in shades of cream and gray. The closet held exactly what Adrian had promised. Basic clothes in her size, nothing fancy but all quality. Lena found a t-shirt and shorts, changed mechanically, and collapsed onto the bed. She should be panicking, should be crying or screaming, or doing something other than lying here in a stranger's apartment wearing his clothes with his ring on her finger. Instead, she felt nothing, just a vast, empty numbness where fear should be. Lena closed her eyes and, against all logic, fell asleep immediately. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For one disoriented moment, she thought she was back in Margaret's house, about to be yelled at for sleeping past dawn. Then the previous night crashed back. The party, the frame-up, Adrian, the wedding. Lena sat up slowly. Her phone, which had been in her catering uniform pocket, sat charging on the nightstand. 23 missed calls, 15 text messages, all from Margaret and Claire. She deleted them without reading. Downstairs, Adrian sat at the kitchen island with a laptop, dressed in different clothes than last night but looking like he hadn't slept at all. Coffee steamed in a mug beside him. "There's breakfast," he said without looking up. "Help yourself." Lena found pastries, fruit, yogurt, enough food for 5 people. She took coffee and a croissant, then stood awkwardly, not sure where to sit. "You can sit down, Lena. You live here now." Adrian's tone was dry. She slid onto a stool across from him. Up close, she could see the exhaustion around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. Whatever work he'd been doing all night, it hadn't been easy. "Did you actually sleep?" she asked. "Not really my style." Adrian closed the laptop. "We need to talk about the next few days." "The complicated part you mentioned." "Exactly. Margaret filed for a restraining order against me at 6 this morning. Claims I coerced you into marriage, that you're being held against your will." Lena nearly choked on her coffee. "She what?" "It won't stick. We have the wedding certificate, the judge's testimony, and several witnesses to the fact that you left the party voluntarily, but it'll tie things up legally for a few days." Adrian's expression was neutral. She also contacted the police about the fraud investigation, pushed them to accelerate the timeline. Can she do that? "She's trying. My lawyers are running interference, but Margaret has connections. It's going to be messy before it gets clean." Lena set down her coffee cup carefully. "So what do we do?" "We play the part. Happily married couple, completely in love. You married me because you wanted to, not because you were cornered. Adrian met her eyes. Can you do that? Convince people this was your choice? I don't know, can you? I'm very good at lying when I need to be. He said it like it was a neutral fact. The question is whether you can hold up under scrutiny. Margaret will push every button she has. Claire will be vicious. The media will dig into your past. The media. I'm not exactly low profile, Lena. By now, every gossip site in Manhattan has the story. Crime boss dumps socialite for her poor stepsister. It's tabloid gold. The reality of it hit her then. She wasn't just Adrian's wife. She was about to become public property, dissected and analyzed by strangers. I can't do this. Lena's hands started shaking. I can't. I'm not good at being seen. I spent years being invisible. I don't know how to... Hey! Adrian's voice cut through her rising panic. Look at me! Lena forced herself to meet his gaze. You're not that person anymore, he said quietly. The invisible girl who took their abuse, she's gone. You killed her the moment you got in my car. Now you're someone new, someone stronger. I don't feel stronger. You will. Adrian stood, moving around the island toward her. Being strong isn't about never being afraid. It's about being terrified and doing it anyway. You've been doing that your whole life. This is just a different battlefield. He was close enough now that Lena could see the details she'd missed last night. The faint scar along his jawline, the way his dark eyes held shadows of things she couldn't name. What if I can't? She whispered. Then I'll carry you through it until you can. Adrian's tone was matter-of-fact. That's what this partnership is. We protect each other. I handle the external threats. You handle becoming the woman they can't break. Deal? It wasn't a romantic declaration. It wasn't even particularly kind, but it was honest. And right now, Lena needed honesty more than she needed comfort. Deal. She straightened her shoulders. So what's first? First, we go shopping. You need clothes. You need to look like someone who chose this life. And you need to be seen in public as my wife. Adrian checked his watch. I have a car coming in an hour. Shopping? Now? While Margaret's trying to... Especially because Margaret's trying. We show the world that you're happy, confident, and exactly where you want to be. It undermines her entire narrative. I don't have money for... You're my wife. Money isn't a concern anymore. Adrian said it casually, like he was commenting on the weather. Get dressed. Something from the closet is fine for now. An hour later, Lena found herself in the back of Adrian's car again, headed toward Fifth Avenue. She wore jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than she used to make in a month. Her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Where exactly are we going? She asked. A few places, boutiques I've worked with before. They'll be discreet. Adrian scrolled through his phone. And before you ask, yes, there will be photographers. Ignore them. Ignore them? How am I supposed to... Oh, don't look at them. Don't react. Don't acknowledge they exist. Stay close to me. Let me handle any questions. His eyes flicked to her. And Lena? When we're out there, you need to look like you want to be with me. Not terrified, not trapped. Like you chose this. Right. Just pretend to be in love with my forced marriage husband. Should be easy. Adrian's mouth quirked. You don't have to pretend to be in love. Just pretend you don't hate me. I don't hate you. Good start. The first boutique was intimidatingly elegant, all white walls and minimalist design. The staff recognized Adrian immediately, their professional smiles going sharp with interest when they saw Lena. Mr. Vescari, what a pleasure. The manager, a woman in her 50s with perfect posture, glided forward. And this must be your bride. Congratulations. Thank you, Elena. My wife needs a complete wardrobe. Casual, business, formal, whatever she wants. Adrian's hand rested on Lena's lower back, possessive but light. Price isn't a concern. Of course, please, come this way. For the next 2 hours, Lena was measured, dressed, and analyzed like a doll. The staff brought endless options: dresses, pants, blouses, coats, shoes. Every time Lena hesitated over a price tag, Adrian would catch her eye and shake his head slightly. That one, he said when she tried on a deep green dress. Get it in 3 colors. It's $4,000, Lena hissed. And it looks good on you. Get the dress, Lena. She got the dress. And about 20 other pieces that made her checking account back home look like a joke. When they finally left, Lena was overwhelmed by the sheer volume of shopping bags being loaded into the car. Adrian guided her toward the vehicle, his hand still at her back. "Mr. Viscari," a voice called out. "Is it true you left Claire Hartwell for her stepsister?" Photographers materialized from nowhere, cameras clicking. Lena froze. Adrian leaned down, his mouth close to her ear. "Smile. Like you know something they don't." Lena forced her lips to curve, tried to ignore the cameras, the shouted questions, the feeling of being trapped. "Mr. Viscari, did you pay Lena to marry you? Is this a green card situation? Lena, how does it feel to steal your sister's fiancé?" Adrian's hand tightened on her back. A warning or a comfort, Lena couldn't tell. Then he turned to face the cameras directly. "My wife and I have no comment except to say we're very happy. Now, if you'll excuse us." His voice carried authority that made even the most aggressive photographer step back. They got into the car. The door closed, muffling the chaos outside. "You did well," Adrian said. "I didn't do anything. I just stood there." "Exactly. You didn't run, didn't look guilty, didn't give them anything to work with. That's all you need to do." Lena watched the photographers fade as the car pulled away. "This is my life now? Being hunted by cameras? For a few weeks, probably. Until something more interesting happens, or they realize you're not going to give them drama." Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. "We need to make one more stop." "Where?" "Margaret's house, to get your things." Lena's stomach dropped. "Adrian, no. I don't want to see her. I can't." "You don't have to see her. I'm going in. You're staying in the car." His tone left no room for argument. "But you need your documents. Birth certificate, passport, anything with your legal identity. Margaret might try to use them against you later." He was right, much as Lena hated to admit it. She needed those documents. 20 minutes later, they pulled up outside the Hartwell brownstone. Lena's hands clenched in her lap as Adrian got out. "Lock the doors," he said. "Don't open them for anyone but me." He walked up to the front door like he owned it, rang the bell once. Margaret answered, her face a mask of cold fury. Lena couldn't hear the conversation, but she saw her stepmother's mouth move, saw Adrian's stance, relaxed but immovable. He said something that made Margaret step back. Then he walked inside. Lena waited, heart pounding. 5 minutes. 10. What if Margaret called the police? What if she tried to have Adrian arrested for trespassing? The front door opened. Adrian emerged carrying a single cardboard box. He walked back to the car calmly, put the box in the trunk, and got in. "Done." He pulled away from the curb smoothly. "What happened? What did she say?" "Nothing worth repeating." Adrian's jaw was tight. "She threatened legal action. I reminded her that she's currently under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. She backed down." "Your things are in the box." "Just one box?" "It's what you had. Your room had almost nothing personal in it." Adrian glanced at her. "She really did treat you like staff, didn't she?" Lena didn't answer. The truth was too humiliating to say out loud, that yes, she'd had so few possessions they fit in a single box, that Margaret had systematically stripped away anything that made Lena feel like a person over the years. They drove in silence back to the apartment. When they arrived, Adrian carried the box upstairs himself, setting it on the bed in Lena's room. "I'll give you some privacy," he said, heading for the door. "Adrian?" Lena's voice stopped him. "Thank you for going there. I know you didn't have to." "Yes, I did. You're my wife now. That means I handle things you can't." He paused in the doorway. "And Lena, whatever was in that house, whatever they made you feel, it's over now. You don't go back there. Ever." He left, closing the door quietly. Lena opened the box slowly. Her father's watch, the only thing she had left of him. Her birth certificate and passport like Adrian had predicted. A few photos from before Margaret, when her father was still alive and smiling. Some books. A journal she'd kept hidden. Clothes that were threadbare and pathetic compared to what she'd just bought. At the bottom she found something she didn't expect. A small envelope with her name on it in her father's handwriting. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter, dated 2 weeks before he died. "My bright girl," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I brought Margaret into our lives. I'm sorry I was too sick to protect you from what I saw coming, But I need you to remember something. You are strong. Stronger than anyone knows, stronger than you believe. Don't let them make you small. Don't let them steal your fire. Promise me you'll survive. Promise me you'll fight. I love you always. Dad. Lena read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Then she folded it carefully and tucked it in the drawer of her nightstand. Her father had been right about one thing. She was still fighting. She was still alive. And now, for the first time in years, she had someone in her corner. Even if that someone was a criminal who'd blackmailed her into marriage, it was more than she'd had yesterday. Lena wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders, and went downstairs. Adrian was in his office, a room lined with bookshelves and dominated by a massive desk. He looked up when she knocked. "Come in." Lena stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "I need to know what happens next. Not just tomorrow or next week. Long term. What's the plan?" Adrian leaned back in his chair, studying her. "The plan is we let the fraud investigation run its course. My lawyers will expose Margaret and her accountant. The charges against you will be dropped. They'll face prosecution instead. It'll take a few months, maybe 6. And then? And then you're free. Legally clear, financially independent. I'll make sure you get what your father left you from the trust." He paused. "As for the marriage, we can discuss that when the time comes. Annulment, divorce, whatever you want." "You just let me go? After forcing me into this?" "I didn't force you, Lena. I gave you a choice between bad options. There's a difference." Adrian's expression was unreadable. "But yes, when this is over, if you want out, I won't stop you." "What do you get out of it, really? Time, space, a wife who isn't going to stab me in the back or leak my business to rivals. Someone I can trust, at least provisionally." He stood, moving to the window. "And maybe, if we're both lucky, something resembling a partnership. Someone who understands that power and loyalty matter more than love and romance." That's bleak. That's reality. Love is a luxury for people who don't have enemies. Lena moved to stand beside him, looking out at the city. "Do you have a lot of enemies?" "More than I can count." "Great. And now they're my enemies too." "Welcome to marriage." Adrian's tone was dry. "But yes, which is why you need to learn how to handle yourself in my world, starting tomorrow." "What's tomorrow?" "Dinner with my associates. The people who keep my organization running. They need to meet you, assess whether you're a liability or an asset." He looked at her directly. "And Lena, you need to be an asset. These aren't polite society people. They're dangerous, they're smart, and they will test you." "How am I supposed to impress dangerous criminals?" "By being yourself. The version of yourself that survived 12 years with Margaret. The woman who chose marriage to me over prison because she's a fighter." Adrian's voice softened slightly. "You're stronger than you think. Tomorrow's your chance to prove it." Lena wanted to argue, to say she wasn't ready, to beg for more time. But the truth was, time had run out the moment she'd said yes in that hallway. "Fine, I'll do it." She met his eyes. "But you have to promise me something." "What?" "If I do this, if I play the part, meet your people, be your wife, you have to tell me the truth. About your business, about what you really do, about the risks. No more half answers or vague warnings. I need to know what I'm actually part of." Adrian considered this for a long moment. "Fair enough. But understand, once you know these things, you can't unknow them. The information will make you complicit, legally, morally, all of it." "I'm already complicit. I married you." "True." Adrian extended his hand. "Deal. Full truth in exchange for your commitment to this partnership." Lena shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and she felt the weight of the agreement settle over both of them. "Tomorrow night, then," she said. "I'll try not to embarrass you in front of your dangerous friends." "You won't." Adrian released her hand. "You survived Margaret. Compared to that, my associates are easy." Lena wasn't sure she believed him, but she nodded anyway. She left him in his office and went back upstairs, her mind racing with everything that had changed in 24 hours. She'd gone from invisible servant to crime boss's wife. From nobody to somebody people noticed. From having nothing to having more than she could process. And somehow, impossibly, She felt more terrified now than she had facing prison. Because prison she understood. Survival she understood. But this strange new world of wealth and danger, and a husband who saw her when no one else ever had, this was completely unknown territory. Lena looked at her reflection in the bedroom mirror. Same face, same eyes, but something was different now. Something harder around her mouth, something fiercer in her gaze. Her father had told her not to let them make her small. Margaret had tried and failed. Now it was time to see if she could be big enough for Adrian's world, or if it would swallow her whole. The next evening arrived too quickly. Lena stood in front of her closet, staring at the rows of new clothes with growing panic. What did one wear to dinner with criminals? The green dress felt too obvious, too trying hard. The black pants and silk blouse seemed safer, but Adrian had said these people would test her. She settled on a deep navy dress, simple, elegant, expensive enough to show she belonged, but not so flashy it screamed desperation. Her hands shook as she zipped it up. "You look good," Adrian's voice came from the doorway. He was already dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car, his dark hair perfectly styled. He looked every inch the powerful man he was. "I look terrified," Lena corrected. "That too. But they won't see it if you don't let them." Adrian crossed the room, stopping in front of her. "Here." He held out a small box. Inside was a necklace, a single diamond pendant on a platinum chain. It was beautiful and understated and probably worth more than everything she'd owned in her old life combined. "I can't. You're my wife. You wear my jewelry." Adrian took it from the box and moved behind her. His fingers were warm against her neck as he fastened the clasp. "These people respect power and money. This shows you're under my protection, that you matter." Lena touched the pendant, feeling its weight. What if I say something wrong? What if they hate me? They won't hate you. They might test you, push boundaries, see if you crack under pressure. Adrian met her eyes in the mirror. "Don't crack, push back, show them you have a spine." Easy for you to say. No, it's not. I had to earn their respect too. Every single one of them questioned whether I deserved to lead when I took over. I proved myself by being smarter, harder, and more ruthless than they expected. His hand settled on her shoulders. "You'll do the same, just differently." "How?" "By being honest, by not pretending to be something you're not. They'll smell fake from a mile away." Adrian turned her to face him. "These are people who've survived by reading lies and spotting weakness. Don't lie. Don't act weak. Just be yourself." "Myself is scared." "Then be scared and strong at the same time. It's possible. I've seen you do it." Lena wanted to believe him, wanted to feel as confident as he sounded, but all she felt was the weight of the diamond around her neck and the certainty that she was about to fail spectacularly. The restaurant was in Brooklyn, an unassuming building that looked half abandoned from the outside. Adrian's driver pulled around to a private entrance in the back. "Stay close," Adrian said as they got out. "And remember, you're my equal here, not my accessory. Act like it." The interior was nothing like the exterior. Low lighting, expensive furnishings, tables spaced far enough apart for private conversations. A man in a suit that didn't quite hide the gun at his hip nodded at Adrian and gestured toward a private room in the back. Lena's heart hammered as they walked. Through the doorway, she saw people already seated around a long table. 5 of them, 3 men, 2 women, all looking up as Adrian entered. "About time," one of the men said. He was older, maybe 60, with gray hair and sharp eyes. "We were starting to think you'd changed your mind about introducing us to the infamous bride." "Traffic," Adrian said smoothly. "Everyone, this is Lena, my wife. Lena, meet the people who keep our organization functional." The older man stood first, extending his hand. "Marcus Chen, I handle logistics and supply chains. Pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Viscari." Mrs. Viscari. The name still felt foreign. "Just Lena," she said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, testing. "Lena it is." Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Quite the whirlwind romance, I hear. 1 week engaged to the stepsister, the next married to you." There it was. The first test. "It wasn't a romance," Lena said, keeping her voice level. "It was a business decision that happened to work in both our favors. Romance had nothing to do with it." Silence fell over the table. Lena felt Adrian go still beside her. Then Marcus laughed. A genuine sound. Well, at least you're honest. That's refreshing. One of the women stood next. She was stunning, probably in her 40s, with dark skin and eyes that missed nothing. Diane Foster. I handle legal affairs, the legitimate ones anyway. She looked Lena up and down with open assessment. So you know what you married into? This isn't some fairy tale, sweetheart. I know exactly what I married into, Lena said. And I'm not your sweetheart. Diane's eyebrows rose. Then she smiled, sharp and approving. I like her. She's got teeth. The introductions continued. James, a quiet man who handled finances and money laundering. Sophia, a woman with scars on her hands who managed security and enforcement. And finally David, the youngest of the group, who apparently ran their technology and surveillance operations. They all watched her with varying degrees of skepticism and curiosity. Lena felt like a specimen under glass. Sit, Adrian said, pulling out a chair for her. She sat, and he took the seat beside her, his hand finding hers under the table, a united front. Dinner was brought out, multiple courses, wine flowing freely. The conversation started carefully, dancing around business topics while everyone sized Lena up. So, Sophia said halfway through the second course, Claire Hartwell. You stole her fiancé right out from under her. That takes guts or stupidity. Which is it? Neither, Lena said. I took an opportunity when it presented itself. Claire would have done the same if our positions were reversed. You don't sound like you have much love for your family. They're not my family. They're people my father made the mistake of marrying into. Lena met Sophia's hard gaze. My father's been dead for 7 years. I've been surviving Margaret Hartwell ever since. So no, I don't have much love for them. Margaret Hartwell. James spoke up for the first time. The woman currently under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. Adrian mentioned you were caught in the middle of that mess. I was the scapegoat, Lena said. She was going to frame me for her crimes and let me go to prison. Adrian offered an alternative. Marriage or prison? David leaned forward, interested. That's quite the choice. Some would call it coercion. Some would call it survival. Lena put down her fork. Look, I know what this looks like. Poor girl marries rich criminal to escape legal trouble. But I'm not stupid, and I'm not naive. I know this is a transaction. Adrian needed a different wife. I needed protection from a criminal case I couldn't fight. We both got what we needed. And what happens when you don't need each other anymore? Marcus asked. The table went quiet again. Lena glanced at Adrian. His expression was neutral, giving her nothing. This was her test to pass. I guess we'll figure that out when we get there, she said finally. But right now we're useful to each other. That's enough. Useful, Diane repeated, turning the word over. Most women in your position would be pretending to be in love, playing the fairy tale angle. I'm not most women, and I'm done pretending to be things I'm not. Lena picked up her wine glass. If that makes me a bad investment for this organization, tell me now. I'd rather know where I stand. Adrian's hand tightened on hers under the table. Approval or warning, she couldn't tell. Marcus was the first to laugh. I'll be damned. She really does have teeth. Told you, Diane said, looking at Adrian. I like her. She's honest. That's rare in our world. Honest is one thing, Sophia said, but can she handle what comes with being part of this? The danger, the violence, the reality of what we do? I survived 12 years of psychological abuse, Lena said. I think I can handle whatever comes next. Abuse isn't the same as having a gun pointed at your face, Sophia said flatly. It's not the same as watching someone get hurt because of choices you made. This isn't a game, little girl. Don't call me that. Lena's voice came out harder than she'd intended. I'm not a little girl. I'm a woman who's been fighting her entire life to just exist. You want to test me? Fine, but don't patronize me. Sophia stared at her for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Fair enough. The tension at the table shifted. Not quite acceptance, but something closer to respect. The rest of dinner passed more smoothly. The conversation turned to actual business, shipments, territories, problems with rivals. Lena listened more than she spoke, absorbing information she probably shouldn't have. After dessert, Marcus raised his glass. To the new Mrs. Vescari. May she be as dangerous as she needs to be. Everyone drank. Lena felt Adrian's approval beside her like heat. They were leaving when Sophia pulled Lena aside. A word? Adrian hesitated, but Lena nodded. It's fine. I'll meet you at the car. Sophia led her to a quieter corner of the restaurant. Up close, Lena could see more scars, one along her jawline, another disappearing into her collar. This was a woman who'd seen real violence. You did good tonight, Sophia said, but I need to make something clear. This world Adrian lives in, it's brutal. People die. People get hurt. And being his wife puts a target on your back. You understand that? I'm beginning to. No, I don't think you are. Sophia's voice was intense. There are people who will come after you to get to him. People who won't care that you're new to this, that you didn't choose it. They'll hurt you just to hurt him. You need to be ready for that. Lena felt cold despite the warm restaurant. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to learn how to protect yourself, how to see threats coming, how to fight back if you need to. Sophia pulled out a card and handed it to Lena. This is my personal number. Call me tomorrow. I'll teach you what you need to know. Why would you do that? Because Adrian's been good to us. He's fair, he's smart, and he doesn't throw people away when they're no longer useful. I respect that. Sophia's expression softened slightly. And because I see something in you, that anger you're carrying, that survival instinct, it's valuable. But you need to sharpen it into a weapon before someone uses your softness against you. Lena took the card, her hand trembling slightly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The training won't be easy. Sophia headed for the door, then paused. But Lena, you're going to need it, sooner than you think. She left before Lena could ask what that meant. In the car, Adrian was quiet. Lena clutched Sophia's card in her hand, her mind racing with everything that had happened. You did well, Adrian said finally. Better than I expected, honestly. Sophia thinks I'm going to get hurt. She wants to train me. I know. She texted me. Adrian looked at her. Do you want to do it? Do I have a choice? You always have a choice. But if you're asking my opinion, yes. Learn from Sophia. She's one of the best fighters I've ever seen, and she's survived situations that would have broken most people. She has scars. We all have scars. Hers just happened to be visible. Adrian's voice was quiet. This world leaves marks, Lena. Physical, psychological, all of it. Sophia's offering to help you survive with fewer of them. I think you should take her up on it. Lena looked out the window at the passing city lights. How did you end up here? Running a criminal organization? That's a long story. We have time. Adrian was silent for several blocks. Then he started talking. My father ran this organization before me. He was brutal, paranoid, and ruled through fear. I watched him destroy people for minor infractions. I watched him trust no one and die alone because of it. Adrian's jaw tightened. When he died, everyone expected me to be just like him, but I'd seen where that path led, so I did things differently. How? By being fair, by keeping my word, by showing loyalty to people who showed loyalty to me. I'm still dangerous, you have to be in this world, but I'm not cruel. There's a difference. He glanced at her. That's why people like Marcus and Diane follow me. Not because they're afraid, but because they know I'll protect them if they protect me. And the people who don't follow you? They become object lessons for everyone else. The coldness in his tone reminded Lena exactly who she'd married. Not a hero, not a good man, just someone who'd chosen a slightly less terrible version of terrible. Does it bother you? She asked. The things you've done? Sometimes. But regret is a luxury I can't afford. I made my choices. I live with them. Adrian met her eyes. Does it bother you? Knowing what I am? Lena thought about it honestly. It should. But after years of watching Margaret destroy people with smiles and paperwork, at least you're honest about being dangerous. That's something. That's a very practical way of looking at it. I'm a practical person. Turns out surviving 12 years of abuse teaches you that. They arrived back at the apartment. Lena kicked off her heels immediately, feeling the tension drain from her shoulders now that the performance was over. You were honest with them, Adrian said, loosening his tie. When you said this was a transaction, That took guts. It's the truth. Seemed stupid to lie about it. Most people would have lied anyway. Tried to sell the love story, make themselves look better. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handing one to her. But you told them exactly what this is. That earned their respect faster than any romantic fairy tale would have. Lena sipped the whiskey, feeling it burn down her throat. Sophia's right, isn't she? Someone's going to come after me eventually. Probably. I have enemies. You're an easy target to use against me. That's terrifying. Yes. Adrian drank his whiskey in one swallow. But you're not alone in this. Sophia will teach you to fight. Diane will teach you how to navigate the legal system. Marcus and James will teach you how to spot financial traps. You'll learn. And what will you teach me? Adrian looked at her for a long moment. How to be ruthless when you need to be. How to make hard choices without flinching. How to survive in a world that wants to break you. I already know how to survive. You know how to endure. That's different. He set down his glass. Endurance is passive. Survival is active. You're going to need to learn the difference. Lena thought about that as she finished her drink. He was right. She'd spent years enduring Margaret's cruelty, taking it silently, waiting for it to end. But survival, real survival, meant fighting back, making moves, taking control. When do we start? She asked. Tomorrow. Sophia will contact you about training. I'll start teaching you about the business. Adrian headed for his office. Get some rest. You're going to need it. Lena went upstairs but couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the dinner, the way those dangerous people had looked at her, tested her, eventually accepted her, the way Adrian had sat beside her like a wall of protection while still letting her fight her own battles. She'd walked into that room as nobody. She'd walked out as Adrian Vescari's wife, someone these people would have to account for. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Training starts at 6 a.m. Don't be late. Sophia. 6 in the morning. Lena groaned but texted back. I'll be there. Another text came through immediately. Good. And Lena, prepare to hurt. Real training isn't gentle. Lena stared at the message. She thought about backing out, telling Sophia this was too much too fast. Then she thought about her father's letter, about being strong enough to fight, about never letting them make her small. She set an alarm for 5:30 and tried to sleep. The next morning came brutally early. Lena dressed in workout clothes she found in the closet. Of course, Adrian had thought of everything, and stumbled downstairs to find him already awake, coffee in hand. Sophia's gym is in Red Hook, he said, handing her a travel mug. Driver's waiting. Good luck. You're not coming? This is your training, not mine. Besides, I have a meeting with the lawyers about Margaret's case. He kissed her forehead quickly, a gesture so casual it surprised them both. Don't let Sophia break you on the first day. Encouraging. The gym was exactly what Lena expected. Industrial, sparse, full of equipment that looked designed for punishment rather than fitness. Sophia was already there, dressed in black athletic gear, stretching. You're on time. Good. Sophia straightened. We're going to start with basics. How to fall without getting hurt. How to protect yourself if someone grabs you. How to recognize threats before they become attacks. How long will this take? Months, maybe years, but we'll start with enough to keep you alive. Sophia gestured to the mat. Come on, let's see what you can do. The next 2 hours were brutal. Sophia showed no mercy, pushing Lena through drills that left her gasping and sore. She learned how to break a wrist hold, how to use her body weight as leverage, how to spot exits in a room. Again, Sophia barked every time Lena thought she couldn't go on. Again, faster, harder. By the time they finished, Lena could barely stand. Every muscle screamed. You did okay, Sophia said, which felt like high praise. But you hesitate, you apologize with your body language. That stops now. I've spent years making myself small. That doesn't just go away. It does if you work at it. Every day until standing tall becomes automatic. Sophia handed her a water bottle. Tomorrow, same time. We'll work on awareness and threat assessment. Tomorrow. My body needs time to recover. Your body will recover while you train. Pain is just weakness leaving, all that motivational poster bullshit. Sophia's smile was sharp. Welcome to your new reality, Mrs. Vescari. Lena dragged herself back to the apartment. Adrian was in his office on a call, but he looked up when she limped past. He ended the call quickly. How bad? I think I might die. You won't. Sophia's tough, but she knows what she's doing. He pulled her into the office. Ice bath will help. I'll have one drawn. 20 minutes later, Lena sat in freezing water, teeth chattering, while Adrian sat on the bathroom counter working on his laptop. Why are you in here? She asked. Making sure you don't fall asleep and drown. He didn't look up from his screen. And honestly, I'm impressed. Most people quit after the first session with Sophia. I'm not most people. No, you're really not. Adrian closed his laptop, looking at her directly. The legal team made progress today. They found the accounts Margaret and her accountant created in your name. The evidence trail is solid, should have enough to clear you and charge them within a month. A month? Lena processed that. And then what? And then you're free. Legally clear, access to your father's trust fund, whole new life ahead of you. Free to leave if I want. Yes. Adrian's expression was carefully neutral. That was always the deal. Lena sank deeper into the ice water, thinking about freedom. A month ago, it was all she'd wanted. Now, sitting in Adrian's apartment, wearing his ring, about to learn how to fight from his people, freedom felt more complicated. What if I don't want to leave? She heard herself ask. Adrian went very still. What? What if this arrangement works? What if I actually like being someone who matters instead of being invisible? Lena met his eyes. What if I want to stay? Lena, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I'm asking what if I choose to? She pulled herself out of the tub, grabbing a towel. You said this was a transaction, that we're useful to each other. Maybe that doesn't have to end in a month. Adrian stood slowly. You're talking about making this permanent? I'm talking about not making decisions until we have to. You gave me an out. I'm saying maybe I won't take it. Lena wrapped the towel tighter. Maybe I'll surprise us both. She left him standing there, processing. She could feel his eyes on her back as she walked away. That night, Lena lay in bed thinking about futures she'd never imagined. A life where she wasn't running or hiding, where she was strong instead of scared, where she stood beside someone powerful, not as a victim, but as an equal. It was insane, probably stupid, definitely dangerous. But for the first time since her father died, Lena felt like she was building something instead of just surviving, and that was worth fighting for. 3 weeks passed in a blur of bruises and revelations. Every morning, Lena dragged herself to Sophia's gym and learned new ways her body could hurt. Every afternoon, she sat with Adrian in his office while he explained the mechanics of his organization, how money moved, how territories were maintained, how loyalty was earned and kept. Every evening, she fell into bed exhausted, only to wake up and do it again. The bruises on her arms faded from purple to yellow. Her muscles stopped screaming quite so loudly. And slowly, something shifted inside her. She stopped apologizing when she took up space. Stopped lowering her eyes when people stared. Started walking like someone who belonged exactly where she was. Adrian noticed. She caught him watching her sometimes with an expression she couldn't quite read. Surprise mixed with something that looked almost like pride. You're getting better, Sophia said one morning after Lena successfully defended against a simulated attack. Faster reflexes, better instincts. You're starting to think like a fighter instead of a victim. I was never a victim, Lena said, breathing hard. No, you were. But you're not anymore. Sophia tossed her a towel. That's the difference. Victims react. Fighters anticipate. You're learning to anticipate. That afternoon, Diane showed up at the apartment with a stack of legal documents. Progress report, she announced, spreading papers across Adrian's desk. Margaret's case is falling apart beautifully. The forensic accountants found 3 offshore accounts she didn't even know we knew about. Her lawyer's already talking plea deals. How long until the charges against Lena are formally dropped? Adrian asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. The DA wants to make sure everything's airtight before they move forward. Diane looked at Lena. You're officially in the clear. Congratulations. Lena should have felt relief, should have felt free. Instead, she felt something closer to vertigo, like the ground had shifted and she wasn't sure what came next. What about Claire? She asked. Claire's clean. legally speaking. She wasn't involved in the fraud, just ignorant of it. Though between you and me, I think she suspected and chose not to ask questions. Diane's smile was sharp. Margaret tried to drag her into it during interrogation, but there's no evidence. Claire walks away from this untouched. Of course she does. Lena's voice was bitter. She always does. Not this time. Adrian pulled up something on his laptop, turning it so Lena could see. It was a society gossip site, the headline screaming, "Hartwell heiress left at altar, inside Claire's humiliation." The article was vicious. Photos of Claire looking devastated at various events, quotes from anonymous sources about how she'd been replaced by her nobody stepsister, speculation about what that said about Claire's worth as a wife. It was character assassination dressed up as news. "Did you plant these stories?" Lena asked Adrian. "I didn't have to. The media did it themselves. Claire spent years being Manhattan's golden girl. Watching her fall from grace makes good copy." His tone was neutral. "She'll recover eventually, but her reputation's taken a hit she won't forget." Lena stared at the photos. She should feel satisfaction seeing Claire brought low, should feel vindicated after years of being overshadowed and belittled. Instead, she felt something uncomfortably close to pity. "She doesn't deserve sympathy," Diane said, reading Lena's expression. "Claire knew what her mother was doing to you. She benefited from it. Don't waste your compassion on people who wouldn't waste theirs on you." "I'm not sympathizing, I'm just—" Lena struggled for words. "It's weird being on the other side of it, being the one who got everything while she got nothing." "Get used to it." Adrian closed the laptop. "In this world, there are winners and losers. You don't apologize for winning." And Diane left shortly after, and Lena found herself alone with Adrian for the first time in days. He'd been busy lately, meetings that ran late, phone calls at odd hours, tension in his shoulders that suggested problems he wasn't sharing. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing you need to worry about." "Adrian," Lena moved around the desk to face him. "You promised honesty, remember? Full truth in exchange for commitment. I'm committed. Your turn." He looked at her for a long moment, then sighed. "There's a territorial dispute brewing, another organization moving into areas I control. It's been building for weeks, and it's about to come to a head. Is it dangerous? It's always dangerous. But yes, this particular situation could get violent." Adrian rubbed his face tiredly. "I'm trying to negotiate a solution, but the other side isn't interested in talking. They want war." "What happens if there's war?" "People die. Territories change hands. Alliances shift." His voice was matter-of-fact, but his eyes were hard. "And anyone associated with me becomes a target, which includes you." Lena felt cold despite the warm office. "Sophia said this would happen, that people would come after me to get to you." She was right. Though I'd hoped it wouldn't be this soon. Adrian stood, moving to the window. "I can increase your security, put guards on you 24/7. But Lena, I need you to understand, if this goes bad, you could get hurt. Really hurt, and I can't promise I'll be able to stop it." "So what are you saying? That I should leave?" "I'm saying you have that option. The charges against you are about to be dropped. You'll have access to your trust fund. You could disappear, start over somewhere safe." He didn't look at her. "I wouldn't stop you." Lena walked over to stand beside him. The city spread out below them, millions of lights in the darkness. Somewhere down there, Margaret was facing the consequences of her crimes. Claire was dealing with her shattered reputation, and Lena was here, standing next to a man who'd become something she never expected. Important. "Do you want me to leave?" she asked quietly. "No." The word came out rough. "But what I want isn't what's safe for you. I didn't marry you for safety. I married you to survive." Lena turned to face him. "And I'm still surviving, just differently now." Adrian looked at her then, really looked, and Lena saw something shift in his expression. "You've changed. In 3 weeks, you've become someone completely different." "No. I've become who I always was underneath." Lena touched the diamond pendant she still wore every day. "I was just too scared to let anyone see it before. And now? Now I'm still scared, but I'm done letting fear make my decisions." She met his eyes steadily. "So if there's going to be war, teach me what I need to know. Don't protect me from it. Prepare me for it." Adrian's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. It was the most deliberately gentle thing he'd ever done, and it made Lena's breath catch. "You're extraordinary," he said quietly. "I don't think you realize that yet." Before Lena could respond, his phone rang. Adrian answered it, his expression hardening as he listened. "When? How many?" A pause. "I'm on my way." He hung up, already moving toward his office safe. He pulled out a gun, checked it efficiently, and grabbed his jacket. "What happened?" Lena asked. "One of my warehouses was hit. 4 of my people are injured, possibly dead. I need to go handle it." Adrian stopped at the door. "Stay here. Don't leave the apartment. Sophia's on her way over." "Adrian, lock the door behind me. And Lena?" He looked back at her, his eyes hard and cold in a way she'd never seen before. "If anyone tries to get in who isn't Sophia or one of my people, you call me immediately. Don't open the door. Don't try to handle it yourself. Understand?" Lena nodded, her throat tight. He left, and the apartment felt impossibly empty. Sophia arrived 20 minutes later, armed and tense. She swept through the apartment, checking windows and exits before settling in the living room. "What's happening?" Lena asked. "Someone's making a move against Adrian, testing his defenses, seeing how he responds." Sophia's hand rested on her gun. "Could be the start of something bigger, or it could be a one-time message. Either way, you're safer here than anywhere else right now." They waited. Hours passed. Sophia made phone calls in quiet tones while Lena paced, unable to sit still. She thought about Adrian in some warehouse, dealing with injured people and whoever had attacked them. Thought about the violence she'd married into becoming suddenly, terrifyingly real. It was past midnight when Adrian finally came back. His suit was dirty, his knuckles bloodied, his expression exhausted. "How bad?" Sophia asked immediately. 3 injured, none dead. The attackers got away clean, but David's pulling surveillance footage now. Adrian looked at Lena, something in his eyes she couldn't name. "You okay?" "I'm fine, are you?" "I've had worse nights." He went to the bar, poured whiskey with shaking hands. The glass rattled against the bottle, the first sign of weakness Lena had seen from him. Sophia made a quiet exit, leaving them alone. Lena approached Adrian slowly. "Talk to me." "There's nothing to talk about. This is the job. People get hurt. I deal with it. Tomorrow we figure out who's responsible and I deal with them too." His voice was flat, emotionless, but his hands still shook. "Adrian." Lena took the glass from him, set it down, and caught his hands in hers. They were cold despite the warm apartment. "Look at me." He did finally, and she saw past the control to the exhaustion and anger underneath. This wasn't just business to him. Those injured people mattered. "Tell me about them," she said. "The people who got hurt." "Why?" "Because you care about them. I can see it. So tell me." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking. "Marco's worked for me for 5 years. He's got 2 kids and a wife. Tommy just started 6 months ago, ambitious as hell, wanted to prove himself. And Jackie," his voice cracked slightly. "Jackie's been with me since the beginning. She was there when I took over for my father. She believed in me when no one else did." "Are they going to be okay?" "Marco and Tommy will be fine. Jackie's in surgery. They don't know yet." Adrian pulled his hands away, rubbing his face. "This is my fault. I should have seen this coming, should have increased security, should have—" "Stop." Lena's voice was firm. "You can't control everything. You can't prevent every attack. All you can do is respond and protect your people going forward." "When did you become the wise one?" "About 3 seconds ago. I'm improvising." Lena pulled him toward the couch, making him sit. "You're exhausted. When's the last time you actually slept?" "I don't remember." "That's what I thought." She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Rest. Even just for an hour. You're no good to anyone running on empty." "I need to coordinate with the... Sophia can coordinate. Marcus can coordinate. You have people for this. Use them." Lena's voice softened. "Please, just rest." Adrian looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. Then he leaned back against the couch, his head dropping against her shoulder. Within minutes, his breathing evened out into sleep. Lena sat there, barely moving, feeling the weight of him against her. This dangerous man who'd forced her into marriage, who ran a criminal empire, who made grown men afraid. He was human, exhausted and worried and carrying more weight than anyone should have to alone. Her phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. "This isn't over. You think you've won, but you've just made things worse for yourself. Watch your back." Lena deleted it without responding. Margaret was nothing now, just a bitter woman facing prison time, lashing out from a position of weakness. She couldn't hurt Lena anymore. But the people attacking Adrian's organization? They were a different threat entirely. Adrian woke an hour later, disoriented. "I fell asleep." "You needed it." Lena hadn't moved. "Any word on Jackie?" He checked his phone, his expression clearing with relief. "She's out of surgery, stable, she's going to make it." "Good." Lena felt her own tension ease. "So what now?" "Now I find out who's responsible and I make them regret it." Adrian stood, stretching. "David should have the surveillance footage by morning. Once I know who we're dealing with, I can respond appropriately." "Meaning violence." "Meaning proportional retaliation. They hurt my people. I hurt theirs. That's how this works." He looked at her carefully. "Does that bother you?" Lena thought about it honestly. "It should. A month ago it would have. But now—" She struggled for words. "I understand why it's necessary. In your world, showing weakness gets you killed. You have to respond. You have to protect your own. You're starting to think like one of us. Is that bad? I don't know yet." Adrian moved to the window, looking out at the pre-dawn city. "When I offered you this deal, I thought you'd stay quiet, stay safe, stay out of the way. But you're not doing any of those things. Is that a problem? No. It's just—" He turned back to her. "You're becoming part of this, really part of it, not just on paper. And I'm not sure if that's what you wanted or if I pushed you into it." "You didn't push me. I made choices." Lena stood, moving toward him. "Maybe they weren't perfect choices, maybe I didn't have great options. But they were mine. And I'm still choosing to be here." "Why?" Adrian's voice was almost vulnerable. "You'll be clear legally in 2 weeks. You'll have money, freedom, a whole life ahead of you. Why would you choose to stay in this world?" "Because for the first time in my life, I matter. People see me, they respect me, or at least they respect what I represent." Lena stopped in front of him. "And because you see me, the real me, not the invisible girl Margaret tried to turn me into. You saw her that first night, even when I was trying to hide her." "I did." Adrian's hand came up to touch her face again, that same gentle gesture that felt like a question. "But Lena, seeing you and putting you in danger are two different things. Tonight was a warning. Next time could be worse." "Then teach me how to handle worse. Train me, prepare me, trust me." She caught his hand, holding it against her cheek. "Don't push me away because you're afraid I'll get hurt. I've been hurt my whole life. At least here, I'm learning to fight back." Adrian searched her face, looking for something. Whatever he saw must have satisfied him because he pulled her close, his arms coming around her in a fierce embrace. "You're going to be trouble," he said against her hair. "Good. You could use some trouble in your life." They stood like that for a long moment, holding each other in the quiet apartment while the city woke up around them. It wasn't romance, wasn't love, wasn't any of the things fairy tales promised, but it was real and solid and more honest than anything Lena had known before. When Adrian's phone rang again, they pulled apart. He answered it, listening intently. "I'll be there in 20. He hung up, already moving toward his bedroom. "David found something on the surveillance. I need to meet with the team." "I'm coming with you." Adrian stopped. "Lena, I said I wanted to be part of this. That means showing up, not hiding in your apartment while you handle everything." She met his eyes steadily. "Besides, your people need to see that I'm not just a trophy wife. They need to see that I'm actually invested in this organization. This could get intense. There will be discussions of retaliation, of violence. I can handle it." Adrian studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Fine. But you stay close to me and you follow my lead. Understood?" "Understood." 20 minutes later, they walked into the warehouse where Adrian's team had gathered. Marcus, Diane, Sophia, David, and James were already there, along with several others Lena didn't recognize. They all looked up when she entered. "Mrs. Vescari," Marcus said, surprise evident. "This is unexpected." "She's here as my partner," Adrian said firmly. "Any objections?" No one spoke. Sophia caught Lena's eye and gave a subtle nod of approval. David pulled up the surveillance footage on a large screen. Okay, here's what we've got. 3 vehicles, 7 people total. They knew exactly where the cameras were, stayed mostly out of frame, but they got sloppy here. He froze the frame, zooming in on a license plate. That plate belongs to a vehicle registered to the Kozlov organization, James said. They operate out of Brighton Beach, mostly Russian crew. Kozlov. Adrian's voice went cold. He's been trying to expand into Manhattan for months. I've shut him down at every turn. This is his response. So what do we do? Diane asked. We hit back, hard enough that he thinks twice about trying this again, but not so hard we start an all-out war. Adrian looked around the room. I want a list of his operations, warehouses, fronts, anything that matters to him. We take out his most valuable asset and make it clear this is a proportional response to what he did to us. His most valuable asset is probably the shipping operation on the waterfront, Marcus said. He moves most of his product through there. If we shut that down, it costs him millions. Then that's what we do. Adrian's expression was hard. I want it done clean. No casualties if possible. I'm sending a message, not starting a massacre. Just damage his operation enough that he understands crossing me has consequences. The team started planning, discussing logistics and timing. Lena listened, absorbing information about criminal operations she'd never imagined. It should have horrified her. Instead, she found herself fascinated by the mechanics of it, how carefully they planned, how much thought went into minimizing collateral damage, how much they seemed to genuinely care about avoiding unnecessary violence. What about Lena's security? Sophia asked. If Kozlov knows about her, he might try to use her as leverage. I've already increased her detail, Adrian said. She doesn't go anywhere without protection, and she continues training with you every morning. Lena? She looked up, meeting his eyes across the room. I'll be careful, and I'll keep training. Whatever you need. I need you safe, Adrian said quietly. Then, louder. Everyone clear on the plan? We move tomorrow night. Marcus, coordinate the teams. David, make sure we have clean exits. Sophia, I want you with Lena during the operation. Wait, Lena said. You're going personally? Of course. My people were hurt. I handle it myself. Is that smart? What if it's a trap? It's always a trap. The trick is being prepared for it. Adrian's smile was sharp and dangerous. But I appreciate your concern, wife. The meeting broke up shortly after. In the car heading back to the apartment, Lena's mind raced with everything she'd heard. You're really going to destroy his shipping operation, she said. I'm really going to send a message that attacking my people has consequences. Adrian glanced at her. Having second thoughts about being part of this? No, I'm just processing. Lena looked out the window. A month ago, I was serving champagne at parties. Now I'm sitting in on meetings about criminal retaliation. It's a lot. It is. And Lena? It's okay if you need time to adjust, or if you decide this isn't what you want. The offer still stands. You can walk away. I don't want to walk away. She said it firmly, meaning it. I want to see this through, all of it. Adrian reached over, taking her hand. They drove in silence the rest of the way home, fingers intertwined, 2 people who'd started as strangers becoming something neither of them had quite expected. Partners. Maybe not in love, but in something just as powerful. A shared understanding that they were stronger together than apart. And in Adrian's world, that was worth more than love anyway. The night of the operation, Lena couldn't eat. She sat at the kitchen island, pushing food around her plate while Adrian checked his weapons with methodical precision. The apartment felt charged with tension, like the air before a storm. You don't have to watch this, Adrian said without looking up. Sophia can take you somewhere else until it's done. I'm not leaving. Lena set down her fork. You said I'm your partner. Partners don't run when things get difficult. Adrian finally looked at her, something complicated in his expression. Most partners don't have to watch their spouse go into danger. Most spouses aren't married to you. Lena stood, moving around the counter. And I'm not watching. I'm coming with you. Sophia's already agreed to keep me safe. Lena, don't. She cut him off. We've been through this. I need to see what your world actually looks like, not just the cleaned up version you show me. If I'm going to stay, if I'm going to really be part of this, I need to understand all of it. Adrian studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Stay in the vehicle with Sophia. Don't get out unless she says it's safe. If anything goes wrong, you do exactly what she tells you without question. Agreed? Agreed. They left an hour later. The convoy consisted of 3 vehicles. Adrian's in the lead, Marcus and James in the second, and Sophia with Lena in the third. The drive to the waterfront took 40 minutes, tension building with every mile. You sure about this? Sophia asked quietly. It's not too late to turn around. I'm sure. Lena watched the city slide past, her heart hammering. How many times have you done this? Operations like this? Too many to count. It never gets easier if that's what you're asking. You just get better at managing the fear. Sophia's hands were steady on the wheel, her eyes constantly scanning. But Lena, what you're about to see, it might change how you look at Adrian, at all of us. Violence has a way of stripping away the civilization we pretend at. I know. Lena's voice was quiet. But I need to see it anyway. They arrived at a warehouse district near the water, industrial buildings looming dark against the night sky. Adrian's vehicle stopped a block away from their target. Lena watched as he and his team got out, moving with practiced efficiency. They'll disable the security first, Sophia narrated quietly. Then move in, plant the charges, get out. If everything goes right, we'll be gone before anyone realizes we were here. And if it goes wrong, then we adapt. Sophia's hand rested on her gun. But Adrian's good at this. Trust him. Lena watched the minutes tick by on the dashboard clock. 5 minutes. 10. Every second felt like an eternity. She thought about Adrian inside that building, thought about all the things that could go wrong, thought about how much she cared whether he made it back safely. When had that happened? When had the man who'd blackmailed her into marriage become someone she actually cared about? Movement caught her eye. Adrian and his team emerged from the building, moving quickly, but not running. They were almost back to the vehicles when headlights suddenly blazed from the opposite end of the street. Shit, Sophia breathed. That's not part of the plan. 3 vehicles roared toward them, blocking the exit. Men poured out, armed and aggressive. Lena watched in horror as Adrian's team took cover, weapons drawn. Stay down, Sophia commanded, pulling her own gun, and stay in the vehicle no matter what happens. Gunfire erupted. The sound was deafening, nothing like movies made it seem. Lena pressed herself against the floorboards, hands over her ears, terror flooding through her. Through the window, she could see Adrian behind cover, returning fire with cold precision. Marcus was shouting orders. James was dragging someone who'd been hit to safety. This was real. People were actually trying to kill each other, and Adrian was in the middle of it. Sophia was on her phone, calling for backup, her voice calm despite the chaos. We need extraction at the waterfront. Multiple hostiles. 2 injured. Get here now. The firefight lasted less than 5 minutes, but felt like hours. Finally, the attacking vehicles retreated, leaving behind shattered glass and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Lena sat up slowly, her whole body shaking. Adrian was still standing, blood on his face from a cut near his temple, his suit torn, but alive. He was checking on his people, making sure everyone was accounted for. Sophia got out, gesturing for Lena to stay put. But Lena couldn't stay. She pushed the door open and stumbled out, her legs barely holding her. Adrian saw her and his expression went dark. I told you to stay in the vehicle. Are you okay? Lena's voice shook. You're bleeding. It's nothing, but you... He grabbed her shoulders, his grip almost painful. You could have been hit. A stray bullet, a ricochet. Do you understand how stupid it was to get out? I had to see if you were... Lena stopped, registering his fear beneath the anger. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. No, you weren't. Adrian pulled her against him hard, his hand in her hair. Don't do that again. Don't scare me like that. Marcus approached, blood on his shirt. We need to move. Kozlov's people might come back with reinforcements. How many injured? Adrian asked, not releasing Lena. 2. Tommy took a bullet in the shoulder. Jackie... Marcus's expression was grim. Jackie's hit bad. We need a hospital. No hospitals. Too many questions. Adrian was already moving, pulling Lena with him. Take them to Dr. Reeves. She'll handle it quietly. They piled into the vehicles. Jackie was unconscious in the back of Marcus's car, her breathing shallow. The same Jackie who'd believed in Adrian from the beginning, who'd been injured in the last attack, and was now hurt again because of his war with Kozlov. Lena sat pressed against Adrian in the back seat, his arm around her like a vice. She could feel his heart racing, feel the adrenaline still pumping through him. "This is my fault," he said quietly. "I should have anticipated Kozlov would stake out his own operation, should have had better intelligence. You can't predict everything. I'm supposed to. That's my job. Keeping my people safe is my job. And I failed." His voice was raw with guilt. "Jackie's going to die because I made a bad call." "She's not going to die. You're getting her help." Lena turned to look at him. "And you didn't fail. Kozlov escalated. He brought more firepower than you expected. That's on him, not you." Adrian didn't answer, just held her tighter. They arrived at a nondescript building in Queens. Dr. Reeves was waiting, a severe woman in her 50s, who took one look at Jackie and started barking orders. Her team moved with military efficiency, getting Jackie onto a gurney and wheeling her into an operating room. "The shoulder wound is clean, doctor," Reeves told Adrian. "I can handle that here. But the other one, she needs surgery, real surgery, not what I can do in this facility." "Then take her to your hospital. I'll handle the paperwork, the questions, all of it." Adrian's voice was steel. "Save her life. Cost isn't a factor." Dr. Reeves nodded and got to work. The waiting room was dingy and uncomfortable. Adrian paced like a caged animal while his team sat in various states of exhaustion and injury. Lena watched him wear a path in the linoleum, watched the guilt eat at him, and knew she needed to do something. "Adrian." She caught his arm as he passed. "Stop. You're not helping anyone by torturing yourself. I should be doing something, planning our response, coordinating with. What you should be doing is sitting down and letting someone look at that cut on your face." Lena pulled him toward a chair. "You're no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion and stress." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're spiraling." Lena's voice was firm. "So sit. Down." To her surprise, he did. Sophia caught her eye from across the room and gave a subtle nod of approval. Dr. Reeves came out 2 hours later, tired but satisfied. "Jackie's stable. The surgery went well. She'll need recovery time, but she's going to make it." The relief in the room was palpable. Adrian's shoulders dropped, some of the tension finally leaving his body. "Can I see her?" "Not yet. She's in recovery. But yes, later." Dr. Reeves looked around at the battered crew. "The rest of you should go home. Get cleaned up. I'll call if anything changes." Back at the apartment, Lena helped Adrian out of his ruined suit. The cut on his face had stopped bleeding, but there were bruises forming along his ribs, scrapes on his hands, evidence of how close he'd come to being seriously hurt. "Shower," she said. "Then I'll bandage whatever needs bandaging." He didn't argue, just disappeared into the bathroom. Lena heard the water start and sat on the edge of the bed, her own hands shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off. She'd watched people try to kill Adrian tonight, watched him return fire without hesitation, seen the reality of his world stripped of all pretense. And she was still here, still choosing this, still choosing him. When Adrian emerged, he looked more human, hair wet, wearing sweatpants and nothing else, the bruises on his torso visible in the lamplight. Lena gestured to the bed, and he sat, letting her clean and bandage the cut on his face. "You should have left," he said quietly. "When you saw what tonight really was, you should have walked away." "Probably." Lena's hands were gentle as she worked. "But I didn't, and I'm not going to." "Why?" "After everything you saw, the violence, the blood, how close we came to—" His voice broke slightly. "Why would you stay?" Lena finished with the bandage and sat back, looking at him directly. "Because I understand now, really understand. You're not doing this for power or money or because you enjoy violence. You're doing it to protect people, your crew, your territory, everyone who depends on you. And yes, the methods are brutal and illegal and probably immoral by most standards. But you care. You actually care whether your people live or die. Caring doesn't change what I am." "No, it doesn't. You're still a criminal, still dangerous, still someone most people would be terrified of." Lena's voice softened. "But you're also someone who kept his word to me, who gave me a way out and didn't trap me when I chose to stay, who saw me when I was invisible and treated me like I mattered. So yeah, I'm staying, even after tonight, maybe especially after tonight." Adrian reached out, pulling her close until she was in his lap, her head against his shoulder. You're going to get hurt eventually, just by being associated with me. Kozlov won't stop. Others will test me through you. It's inevitable. Then teach me how to survive it. Make me dangerous enough that they think twice before coming after me. Lena pulled back to look at him. I'm not the scared girl from that engagement party anymore. I'm someone new, someone who can handle your world if you let her. I know. I've watched you transform into someone I barely recognize. Adrian's hand cupped her face. Someone extraordinary. I'm not extraordinary, I'm just done being small. He kissed her then, and it wasn't like the brief kiss at their wedding. This was real, desperate and fierce and full of everything they hadn't said. Lena kissed him back, her hands in his hair, 6 weeks of tension and fear and growing connection pouring into this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. I care about you. More than I should. More than is smart for either of us. I care about you too. Lena's voice was quiet but certain. I didn't want to. Didn't plan to. But somewhere between the blackmail and the bruises and learning to fight, I started caring whether you lived or died. And tonight, when those bullets were flying, she stopped, swallowing hard. I was terrified I'd lose you. You're not going to lose me. I'm harder to kill than people think. Adrian's smile was brief. But Lena, if we do this, if we make this real instead of just a transaction, there's no going back. You'll be tied to me, to my world, to everything that comes with it, forever. I know. Lena met his eyes steadily. And I'm choosing it anyway. I'm choosing you. They made love that night, and it was nothing like Lena had imagined. Not gentle or romantic, but intense and raw and honest. Two people who'd started as enemies becoming something neither of them had expected. Partners, equals, maybe even something more. Afterward, lying in Adrian's arms listening to his heartbeat, Lena felt more at peace than she had in years. This wasn't the life she'd planned, but it was hers, chosen freely, and that made all the difference. The next morning brought news. Margaret's trial date was set, her plea deal rejected. She was going to prison for at least a decade. Claire had quietly left the city, relocating to somewhere in California to escape the scandal. And the DA had officially dropped all charges against Lena, apologizing for the investigation. It's over, Diane said, handing Lena the final paperwork. You're clear, and the trust fund has been transferred to your control. Your father's money is finally yours. Lena stared at the documents. Free. She was actually free. Legally, financially, completely free of Margaret's shadow. There's more, Diane continued. Margaret tried to contest the trust fund distribution, claimed you coerced her or some nonsense. But the judge threw it out. She has no claim on your father's estate anymore. It's all yours. $2 million. That's what her father had left her. Enough to disappear, to start over anywhere in the world, to never have to depend on anyone again. Lena looked at Adrian, who was watching her with carefully neutral expression. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm thinking about my father, about what he'd want me to do with this money. Lena turned to Diane. Can I use part of it to buy property? Start something? Of course. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. Diane's smile was curious. What did you have in mind? That neighborhood Kozlov was operating out of, the one that's been run down for years. Adrian mentioned it used to be a decent community before criminals moved in. Lena looked at Adrian. What if we reclaimed it? Not just took it over, but actually rebuilt it. Community center, affordable housing, programs for kids. What if we turned it into something good? Adrian stared at her. You want to use your inheritance to rebuild a neighborhood? I want to do something that matters, something my father would be proud of. Lena's voice grew stronger. You said you're different from your father because you care about people. Prove it. Help me turn that territory into something more than just another criminal operation. Make it a place where people can actually live safely. Marcus, who'd been listening quietly, spoke up. That's ambitious and expensive, and it would take years. I have time and money. And apparently I'm married to someone with the power to make it happen. Lena looked around at Adrian's team. Unless you all think it's a stupid idea. It's not stupid, Sophia said slowly. It's actually brilliant. Rebuilding a community earns loyalty better than fear ever could. People who benefit from what you've built will protect it. They'll become your eyes and ears in the neighborhood. Plus, it's good PR, James added. Crime boss turns philanthropist. It could shift how the media portrays Adrian, make it harder for rivals to paint him as just another thug. Adrian was quiet, considering. Then he smiled, genuine and warm in a way Lena had rarely seen. You want to change my world. Actually change it. I want to make it better. For everyone, not just us. Lena moved to stand in front of him. Is that naive? Probably, but I like it anyway. Adrian pulled her close. Fine. We'll do it your way. Rebuild the neighborhood. Create something legitimate alongside the criminal empire. But Lena, this is your project, your vision. I'll provide resources and protection, but you're in charge of making it happen. Deal. The next 6 months were a whirlwind. Kozlov, faced with Adrian's retaliation and the loss of his shipping operation, agreed to a peace summit. The negotiations were tense but productive. Territories were redrawn, boundaries established, and an uneasy truce settled over the city. Meanwhile, Lena threw herself into the neighborhood project. She worked with community leaders, architects, and local businesses to design something that would actually help people. A community center with after-school programs. Affordable housing that wasn't a slum. Job training for adults. Gardens and playgrounds for kids. Adrian's money funded it. Lena's vision shaped it. And slowly, block by block, the neighborhood transformed. Jackie recovered from her injuries and became Lena's right hand in the project, coordinating security and outreach. Sophia continued training Lena, but now it was about confidence as much as combat. And Adrian watched his wife become a force in her own right, someone the community respected and his organization admired. You've changed everything, he told her one night as they stood in the nearly completed community center. Not just this neighborhood, me, my organization, all of it. I just asked the question everyone was afraid to ask. What if there's a better way? Lena leaned against him, looking at the space they'd created. Your people are still criminals. You still do illegal things, but now you're also providing something positive, something that helps people instead of just taking from them. The old me would have said that's weakness, that caring about community makes you vulnerable. And now? Now I think it makes us stronger, harder to break because we have something real to protect. Adrian turned her to face him. You did that. You made me want to be more than what my father was. The community center opened on a Saturday in early fall. The neighborhood turned out in force, families, kids, elderly residents who'd lived there for decades. There was food, music, speeches about new beginnings. Lena stood at the podium feeling nervous for the first time in months. She'd faced down criminals and survived attacks and transformed from invisible to visible. But speaking to this crowd about hope and change felt more daunting than any of it. My father used to tell me I was stronger than I knew, she began, her voice carrying across the gathered crowd. I didn't believe him for a long time. I let people make me small, make me invisible. It took losing everything to realize I could choose to be something different. She looked at Adrian, standing off to the side with his team. This community center represents that choice. The choice to build instead of destroy, to help instead of hurt, to be more than the worst thing that ever happened to us. My father's money started this project, but all of you, every person who showed up, who believed this could be something good, you made it real. The applause was thunderous. Lena stepped down from the podium and into Adrian's arms, feeling his pride in the way he held her. Your father would be proud, he said quietly. I'm proud. That evening, back at the apartment that had become their home, Lena and Adrian sat on the couch with glasses of wine, exhausted but satisfied. So what now? Adrian asked. You've conquered my world, rebuilt a neighborhood, become someone the media calls a transformative force in criminal justice reform. What's next for Lena Viscari? Lena smiled at the name. She'd legally changed it 3 months ago, dropping Ward entirely. Viscari fit better, a name that meant something, that carried weight. I don't know. More neighborhoods maybe? Expand the programs. Find other ways to balance out the darkness in your business with something light. She looked at him. What about you? Any regrets about blackmailing me into marriage? None. Best decision I ever made. Adrian set down his wine and pulled her into his lap. Though I should probably apologize for the blackmail part. Probably. But I'll allow it this once. Lena kissed him softly. Since it worked out. It did. Against all odds, it actually did. Adrian's expression grew serious. I love you. I don't think I've actually said that yet. You haven't. I was wondering if you were going to. Lena felt warmth spread through her chest. I love you too, which is insane considering how this started. Most love stories don't start with coercion and criminal charges. Most love stories are boring, Lena grinned. Ours is better. They sat together as the city lights came on below them. Two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something real from it. Not perfect. They still had sharp edges, still fought sometimes, still lived in a world where danger was always lurking. But they had each other. They had a partnership built on honesty and respect and the kind of loyalty you couldn't fake. They had a community they'd rebuilt together, proof that even people living in shadows could create light. And most importantly, Lena had herself. The woman who'd been invisible for so long, finally visible, finally powerful, finally free. She'd survived Margaret's cruelty, survived the frame-up and the blackmail and the violent world she'd married into. She'd transformed from victim to fighter to leader, from nobody to somebody who actually mattered. Her father had told her not to let them make her small. She'd done better than that. She'd learned to make herself big, big enough to hold space for both Adrian's dangerous world and her own vision of something better. Big enough to be his equal. Big enough to choose her own life instead of having it chosen for her. And that was the real victory. Not escaping the cage Margaret had built, but breaking it open from the inside and walking out on her own terms. What are you thinking about? Adrian asked, watching her face. I'm thinking about choices. About how I chose prison over marriage originally because I thought it was the only way to maintain control. But then I chose you instead, and that turned out to be the real control, the real power. Lena looked up at him. I'm thinking about how sometimes the scariest choices are the ones that save us. Deep thoughts for a Saturday night. I'm allowed to be philosophical. I just opened a community center. I've earned some reflection time. Lena stood, pulling him up with her. Come on, let's go to bed. Tomorrow we have that meeting with the city council about expanding the housing project. Look at you, all responsible and civic-minded. One of us has to be. You're still a crime boss, remember? How could I forget? You remind me every time I get too sentimental. Adrian followed her toward the bedroom, his hand in hers. Though I notice you don't seem to mind being married to a criminal anymore. I've gotten used to it. Plus the benefits are decent. Lena glanced back at him with a smile. Protection, money, purpose, surprisingly good sex. I could do worse. Surprisingly good? I'm insulted. Fine, excellent sex. Happy? Getting there. They fell into bed together, still bantering, still themselves. No fairy tale ending, no dramatic transformation into perfect people. Just two complicated humans who'd found each other and decided to build something real from broken pieces. Outside, the city hummed with life. Somewhere, Margaret sat in a prison cell facing her crimes. Claire was rebuilding her reputation in California, probably still bitter about being replaced. Kozlov was nursing his losses and maintaining the fragile peace. And in the neighborhood they'd reclaimed, lights glowed in the community center, proof that even in darkness, people could choose to create light. Lena fell asleep in Adrian's arms, no longer afraid of being seen, no longer invisible, no longer the girl who survived by making herself small. She was Lena Viscari now, wife, partner, community leader, fighter. Someone who'd walked through fire and come out forged into something stronger. Someone who'd finally learned to live instead of just survive. And that was the ending she deserved. Not perfect, but real. Not safe, but chosen. Not the life she'd planned, but the life she'd fought for. The only life that had ever truly been hers.